My name is Joy Nelson.
I am Milton Hain.
My name's Wilhelmina Perry.
My name is John Wambere.
I'm Dr. Colleen Burchett.
My name is Barrington Wright.
My name is Reverend Dr. Eleanor Moody Shepherd.
My name is the Reverend Dr. Karen Carlo.
My name is John Howard.
Well, first I'd like to say that the biblical narrative is far from univocal on the point. So some would claim that the Bible is clear that homosexuality is an abomination. I would beg to differ. It's really only mentioned at the most 6 times.
One of the things that is quite prominent in the Bible is the whole concept of choice. I think from the very beginning, we read that God gave the first 2 people he made choice.
The Bible was written in particular historical contexts, and it has been interpreted in other particular historical contexts. So our contemporary understanding of homosexuality and other forms of sexuality is very different from what it was in the ancient world.
If there are individuals who, as part of their sexuality, determined to go in a particular direction, and there's that love and companionship and union that exists, I think God, in his infinite wisdom, would give us the opportunity to make those choices, and then whatever the consequences might be, we would just have to accept them.
So I think it's important to interpret the Bible today through the lens of love, and not just pick a few phrases out of many and use them to bash other people.
Okay, my organization actually has been involved in the demonstrations in support of gays in Uganda and also in Jamaica. We have been out in front of the UN whenever we have an opportunity to speak in support of what is happening to the gay population in Uganda. We speak up. And I must say that I don't see a lot of activity from other groups, not from the Black community, but we are always there. And we feel that this issue is a human rights issue, and it affects us here, not only gays, but it affects citizens all across the United States and the world. I think people can do what we're doing. There's plenty of information when there's a proposal for a demonstration at the UN or in front of the embassy. We can be present. It's simple. We go because we are invited by people from Uganda. It is not that we are imposing ourselves, but we are invited to go, and they're very receptive to people going. And I think standing there as a body demonstrates not only to the embassy people in the Uganda building, but also to other citizens who see us there, that this is something that has to be stopped. It cannot be allowed. If we have the opportunity and we have the skills and the interest, we can write editorials. We can send to various elected officials here in the country, as we have done. And now we're quite concerned with the appointment of the person from Uganda to be head of the United Nations. So we have been signing and encouraging people to sign petitions. Unfortunately, he got the position, but we're not going to stop. We don't think that the United Nations should have as its leadership a person who has openly expressed such hate and such hate, really, against people who are same-gender loving.
So to me, I basically look at the law as being very vague and not being very outlined to know if the cause of the law, as it was put forward with the anti-gay groups, was to protect the family. And today we see people being chased away from homes, or people losing their jobs. Then we don't see how the law is protecting the family, but instead it's breaking it. So for a tourist, I personally knew that the gay tourism in Uganda was a virgin area, and there was a lot of resources to be tapped into it. But I couldn't further any more projects focusing on that because I knew that it wasn't going to take me anywhere.
I think they are strange bedfellows in that it follows a pattern in history in that the missionaries come first and they then proselytize and transform the minds so that the mindset is open to what follows, which is economic exploitation and neo-colonialism.
It's a phrase that was coined by Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. And as a Jamaican who grew up under colonialism, I have an aversion to neo-colonialism. My sense is that the people who are proselytizing in Uganda are introducing cultural norms that are different from the norms in Uganda. It's a way of inserting themselves into the politics, the economics of the country, in ways that, as someone for myself who grew up in Jamaica, where, the colonial powers sort of influenced all the development in the country, I'm firmly challenged by that notion that the new form of colonialism, which is exemplified by these missionaries going to Uganda and proselytizing, preaching a kind of doctrine that says you either become a Christian or you run the risk of dying.
What we find is an interesting pattern here, that at the same time that the religious proselytizing focusing on homosexuality is taking place, there are also contracts being passed out all over the world for people to come and to invest in, to drill oil, wreck the environment, wreck the ecosystem, and exploit the economy of Uganda.
It's worse than probably the former kind of colonialism, where the masters would come in and try to extract just the resources of the country. Here, this new form of colonialism, especially with a religious tinge to it, I think is wreaking havoc in the country. And I think it's unfortunate that the gospel should be used in such a way.
So I think it's very interesting that there are these two parallel developments that are going on. And, just like they said, the missionaries came over, they had the Bible, they had us pray, gave us the Bible, and then when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible, they had the land. That's not to speak against the Bible, because I am a Christian, but I'm just saying that this seems to be part of an ongoing theme in this context as well.
International law has been used in the cases of egregious behavior, criminal conduct, by state actors, and in some cases by private actors. And so that is one avenue that I think is open. So those are two things. I mean, withdrawal of aid, and where possible, if legally possible, sanctions against people who are instrumental in the oppression of the gay community in Uganda.
One of the areas that I work in is domestic violence, and one of the tactics to isolate the victim so that they don't have any defense, and so it makes them vulnerable, and so you're able to abuse them, and take away their rights. So isolation takes away rights, and so that's why it is very it's problematic when we isolate a certain part of the population, because then we prioritize a certain part over the other part, and then the ones that are prioritized have control over the life of the ones that are isolated. So the answer is that God has invited us in the text for all of us to come, and we come together and to love each other. So I can't understand how anyone, if they read the same text, can justify God's love that excludes some parts of the population, because God is love.